Welcome back, parents at risk. We've discussed that parents get triggered when their children do not follow and toe the line, and the fact that parents get triggered affects them from being good and productive parents and gaining and achieving what they want to achieve with the chinuch of their children. Guilt. So many of us are walking around with guilt. It's my fault that this child is going through his struggles. It's my fault this child is going downhill. When we suffer from guilt, we get triggered. The bad boy inside, it's your fault. And when we get triggered, then we can't do anything right. So let's discuss the trigger called guilt. We have 6 points to try and digest. Number one, what's the truth? It's easier to just take the guilt and blame yourself, and then everything makes sense. I was a bad parent, and therefore my child is a bad child, and everything makes sense. Did you actually do anything wrong? Could you have done things differently? Should you have done things differently? Can you be blamed for making the decisions and choices that you made back then? Could you have known better? You might have been younger and inexperienced. You might not have known what the turnout will be. It's easy to say, had my child not been in that school, they wouldn't have suffered that much. But when you put the child in that school, could you have known that? So before anything else, do a reality check. Are you really guilty? Is there anything that you did that you can say, because of that, because of you, this child is slipping? Number two, the main two questions we have to ask ourselves. Does Hashem know about this? Did he allow it to happen? And the answer is always yes and yes. The fact that this child is now in this situation, having experienced and gone through what he's been through, and in the unfortunate situation that he or she might be in, this is not against Hashem. Hashem allowed this to happen. It could be that you made mistakes. But could it be that because of you, without Hashem allowing this to happen, your child is suffering? The wa5 explains to us that there's nothing that you can do that can actually contribute to what another person is going through. You can choose to volunteer to be the shliach, to be the stick to cause somebody pain. That's the worst that you could be. And you'll get punished for volunteering. But the wa5 says that what somebody else goes through is their journey. It's what Hashem decided on Rosh Hashanah or before they were born, or both, that this is what they have to go through. Number three, let's say it's true that you're guilty on some level. Let's say that you made mistakes, and let's say there are things you should have known better. How is that truth serving you today? The Sforim write, Kol etzev yeye למותר. You should only wallow in negativity if it's going to contribute and propel you to something positive. Just wallowing in the sad fact that maybe you did something wrong is not getting anywhere to anyone. How many of us are destroying today, worrying about whether tomorrow is going to be better than yesterday? What was? What does Hashem want from us now? What's been has been. What's now? Number four. And this deserves a clip on its own, which we Hashem will have, but just very on one sentence. Every single child has a predestined journey. And the Sforim write, the Rishonim write, that everything about the child's journey has been mapped out before. The child saw it before he was born, he chose it, he accepted it. And I'll just tell you in brackets, so did you, so did we. We saw that our journey would include a child that's struggling, no less than the child saw his struggles in his journey. And when we were still up there close to Hashem, we were consciously aware that this was a positive journey and one that was taking us to the right place. Today we don't see it, but we have to believe that they are on their journey and Hashem is taking them from A to B. And we just have to focus on doing the right thing every moment. Number five, getting back to guilt. Let's say you did things wrong. That bein adam lamokim, bein adam lachaverei. Well, you can do teshuva. You can start doing things better now. Teshuva is not that complicated. You have to regret the past, which is not easy to regret when you see the outcome. You have to change your habits, which is a logical thing to do when you see what the old habits took you to. And you have to make a commitment that you're going to continue doing things right. You have to apologize, own your mistakes. It's a very good midah, and it's also very healing. We'll see more on that later. Make the amends and forge forward. And last but not least, even if you are a strong and instrumental part in causing the problem, what makes you think that you're not equally instrumental in being the solution? I often tell parents that it's rare to find parents that are the cause of the problem, but it's rare to find parents that are not most of the solution. Let's be committed to become the solution of our child's challenges instead of walking around with guilt and blaming ourselves for things that we're either not guilty of, and certainly there's no point in going down that road.